Namaste. A very warm welcome to one and all. On behalf of Team Vedant, I take this opportunity to welcome you all at India's biggest virtual conference organized by Vedant Knowledge Systems Private Limited. Sustainable Development Goals 2030, Bridging Gaps, Building Futures for Viksit Bharat at 2047. A multidisciplinary international virtual conference happening between 18 to 22nd February 2025. Let us begin the conference with the prayer in the lotus feet of Almighty. Sanandamanandavane vasantam anandakandam atpapavrindam Varanasina Thamanatanatham Sri Vishwanatham Sharanam Prapadde. As the visionary organizers of this 11th conference, Vedant Knowledge Systems Private Limited is committed to fostering intellectual discourse, innovation and societal progress. Team Vedant has humbly taken vision of Viksit Bharat as their mission, and the present conference is the third version of Viksit Bharat at 2047 theme conferences, touching thousands of youth and hundreds of educators from diverse institutions and disciplines. With a rich history of organizing impactful conferences and academic events, we believe in creating platforms that transcend boundaries and empower individuals with knowledge and resources. Since last 10 years, Team Vedant is serving to various spheres of education and research domain at national and international levels in various capacities and earn many feathers in its crown. 50 plus universities, 200 plus colleges and 50,000 plus individuals have been served through Vedant's meaningful interventions. The major objectives of organizing the present conference are to realize the vision of Viksit Bharat at 2047 by taking it into mission mode through building ecosystem for a sustainable development, holistic growth of youth and empowering larger communities. Another objective is to create platform for diverse scholars and practitioners to collaborate on multidisciplinary solutions addressing multiple SDGs. The next one is to explore how India's vision for Viksit Bharat 2047 aligns with global SDG agenda for 2030. And to promote innovative practices, policies and technologies to bridge gaps and build resilient, sustainable communities. As you all know, the world approaches 2030 deadline for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. It is crucial for India to not only contribute to this global endeavor but also to align it with its national vision of a Viksit Bharat, a developed and inclusive India, by marking its 100th anniversary happening in 2047. This international research conference seeks to foster cross-disciplinary discussions, engage diverse stakeholders and catalyze innovative solutions to accelerate progress towards the SDGs while preparing India for sustainable, inclusive and prosperous future. Kiskinda University, Karnataka is knowledge partner of the present conference. The conference is specially supported by Monarch University and Atmiya University. This conference is happening between 18th February 2025 to 22nd February 2025. On behalf of Team Vedant, let me invite and introduce Professor Dr. Paresh Joshi sir for his keynote talk in this prestigious event. Professor Joshi is serving to Department of English, Veer Narmad, South Gujarat University, Surat, India. He is a seasoned speaker with vast experience of decades in higher education and soft skills training. He is a well-known orator and academic event host. His contributions to linguistic and literary research are also immense. He is a published author of several reputed books and papers. Let us listen to Professor Paresh Joshi.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This, I believe, is an opportunity to interact with young minds. And I believe it's an opportunity to discuss the vision of our nation, vision of our Honorable Prime Minister, Viksit Bharat at 2047. When I was looking at the theme of this virtual conference, it's huge when we see the number, the countries participating. So, I would express my sincere gratitude to Team Vedant for the kind of opportunity that I've got. Once the gratitude is expressed, let's move forward. I said, when I was looking at the theme of this particular conference, Sustainable Development Goals 2030, bridging gaps, building futures for Viksit Bharat at 2047. What can be more relevant, contemporary than talking about these countries' vision? And as I said, talking about Honorable Prime Minister's vision of 2047. I would share my presentation with all of you. When you look at India's story, when you look at India as a country and its global standing, we see a discernible, visible difference in the way India is perceived globally. India's story is big today for multiple reasons. And we are on a trajectory to become the world's largest economy. And, my session is more focused at how we can leverage the present condition of India to realize our dream of 2047. Is my audio, video all right? Is my PowerPoint presentation visible?
Yes.
All right. Now, as I said, I have planned to discuss how we can leverage this present strategic advantages that India as a country has. And therefore, I have titled my talk as Viksit Bharat and Skill Development. So how are we going to achieve, how are we going to realize this dream of being a Viksit Bharat? When we make a definition of Viksit Bharat, I would connect it back to becoming not only the economic power, not only becoming the economic superpower, but also becoming a cultural and a social superpower, in the sense that India used to be Vishwaguru. And, we are all set to become Vishwaguru in a very short span of time. To be precise, say about 25 years from now, we are in the Amrit Kal. Next 25 years are going to play a significant role in, as I said, realizing our dream of Viksit Bharat in 2047. So when we talking about Viksit Bharat, all of us know that this vision 2047 was announced on 11th December 2023. And this was a big moment in the history of India when Honorable Prime Minister, uh, you know, uh, made a nation-wide proclamation of this dream of Viksit Bharat. I was one of the teachers who was involved in this exercise where we were all invited, along with Vice Chancellors, some representatives in Raj Bhavans. And there, across India, in all Raj Bhavans, this was live session. So this was a historic moment when we look at it. The announcement, as I said, took place on 11th December 2013, 10:30 a.m. to be precise. And when we look at what were some of the goals, what were some of the dreams that were talked about by Honorable Prime Minister, one of the first things that touches all of us is India must produce such a generation of people who can become the vanguards of the country and who can also lead and give direction to our nation in the coming years. So I'm just giving you some quick highlights as to what were some of the very significant mission statement or mission statements made on this day. Every person, every institution, and every organization should work with a single aim. And that should be, whatever I will do, I must do it for a Viksit Bharat at 2047. The youth are agents of change as well as the beneficiaries of change. So, when we look at this vision, when we look at this dream that we collectively saw on that day, have put us on sort of on a trajectory where the goal is set and then the entire nation is invited to participate in achieving, in realizing this dream. And very rightly so, youth is the agents. Youth are agents of change. It is youth which runs the motors of the country. It is youth which propel the motor of the growth of the country. And therefore, Honorable Prime Minister made that proclamation on that day. Now, right in the beginning, I was connecting the present moment or the moment in future, the vision that we've seen in 2047, as reclaiming our position as Vishwaguru. India led the way. When you look at the history, it was India who showed the path to the rest of the world. Right from the Vedic era, we have been creating knowledge texts. We have been creating, knowledge which has guided the rest of the world. Needless to delve into that history. But I'll give you a quick highlight. So I think each one of us are familiar with a stalwart who has worked on Indian knowledge system, Professor Kapil Kapoor, who was recently awarded Padma Vibhushan. It was he who brought out that there are so many domains of knowledge where we have been able to produce the first knowledge text. Obviously, Vedas, when we talk about the world's first book, Rig Veda, was written in India. Then you have world's first poem, Valmiki Ramayana, was written in India. It has about 24,000 verses. We're talking about, it is perceived to have been written between 7th and 5th century. How can we forget Ashtadhyaya, the world's first grammar book of Sanskrit, Panini's Ashtadhyaya, was written in India. The book sets linguistic standards in the world of grammar. Again, 5th, 6th century before Christ. And, the 20th century linguists I'm just going to give you one quick example. When we look at Noam Chomsky, for example, uh, who is considered 20th century's leading a linguist, and has given some principles. When we carefully look at his academics, his doctoral research is on Panini's Ashtadhyaya. So this is somewhere we would see that these knowledge texts, which led the rest of the world into the light of knowledge, were repackaged and were given to us, from West, and we took them as the original pieces of knowledge which had originally come from us. The world's first book on sociology, the Kalp Sutra, was also written in India. Bhadrabahu wrote it in 4th century before Christ. The world's first book on astronomy, Vedanga Jyotisha, was also written in India. The first book on arithmetic, Bodhayana, written in India. The invention of zero, the value of pi, the concept of the square root, were founded by Indian mathematician, the great Aryabhatta. In India, the numerals from 0 to 9, we all popularly know that 0 was given to India. But Professor Kapil Kapoor argues that 0 to 9 numerals are originally, an Indian concept. In Arabic, it is called Hindu-Arabic numerals, but they are called Hindse numerals in Arabic, which means Hindse. So that is how its root is connected to India. And what we need to know is as many as 123 granthas were translated into English in 19th century. And you have people like William Jones, you have people like Max Muller, who translates these granthas beginning from, say, Vedas, Gita, and then they enter into literature. We know the story where Abhigyan Shakuntal, Kalidas's Abhigyan Shakuntal was translated, and a German poet reading it was in a state of ecstasy when he read it. So all I want to foreground here is that when we're talking about Viksit Bharat in 2047, rather than arriving at a new position of becoming the world leader, I would consider it as if we are reclaiming the position of becoming the world leader from the Vedic era. All of us know again that there were moments in history where we were the victims of not only political or economic imperialism, but we were also the victim of cultural imperialism. So, I just wanted to begin this discourse on Viksit Bharat with the background that tells us, and I think many of us are aware. I was just revisiting these ideas to place them in perspective that, Vishwa Guru to Viksit Bharat is a long journey, and we're so happy that we are so very close to it. Indian knowledge system, as I said, Professor Kapil Kapoor, a stalwart who has given his life to Indian knowledge system. He has compiled volumes, and I think everyone who is listening to me should read him to know the importance of and the significance of Indian knowledge tests. Now, he states that this is one of the civilizations which has attached greatest value to knowledge. And, we have been having a whole tradition of knowledge texts and the seers and thinkers in almost all domains of knowledge. That parampara, the tradition of creating, nurturing knowledge has been the hallmark of our civilization. Uh, and therefore he compares India's knowledge tradition is ancient, uninterrupted light flow of River Ganga. We need not say Ganges because that's a colonial hangover. So we better say Shiv and stop saying Shiva because Shiv is uh, what we have been speaking. There's no need for an additional vowel or It's Shiv. So India's knowledge tradition is ancient and uninterrupted, like the flow of River Ganga, from Vedas to Shri Aurobindo. The knowledge or jnana has been at the center of all rational and speculative inquiry in India. So, uh, all I want to state very humbly is that we were the world leaders uh, in the kind of knowledge that uh, we created and we have been created, and knowledge has remained, at the center of the the civilization. We have attached highest amount of value to knowledge. So, Viksit Bharat 2047, in that sense, is reclaiming our position as Vishwaguru. When we look at what is happening around us in academia, primarily I'm from humanities, and therefore, if you carefully look at the landscape of literature, there is an enormous amount of interest in retelling Indian myths, and so these writers like Ashwin Sanghi and Amish Tripathi, Devdutt Patnaik have become uh, celebrities overnight just by retelling the myth. The quality is a subject of inquiry and a discussion later. All I'm trying to tell you here is that there's a growing interest in the Indian mythical theological discourses and what it is indicative of. If you apply a simple principle of demand and supply, there's a demand of people are curious. The world is curious to know the great tradition of knowledge that India used to be. We have all known how a lot of Indian practices, primarily when we say yoga, for example, is well received. And the testimony to that fact is the World Yoga Day that we celebrate. The World Yoga Day, I would correct myself, trying to escape the hangover that I was talking about. Moving forward, we have seen a lot of civilizations, India, Mesopotamia, Egypt, Rome, Greece, Persia, Maya, etc. There's something in this civilization. There's something in this Sanskriti, as we say, that has kept us alive. A lot of them have come and vanished. And because they have vanished, we need to understand this precisely, that it was because of our knowledge that it is because of our knowledge tradition that we have, been able to survive all this long. So, connecting back to what I was talking about, this vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. I have already acquainted you with some of the interesting statements made by our Honorable Prime Minister. One of them, which I would quickly read and move forward because time is limited. The last paragraph, today, every institution and every individual, this was again, as I said, from the speech of Honorable Prime Minister, who was proclaiming this vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. Today, every institution and every individual should move with a resolution that every effort and act will be for Viksit Bharat. The aim of your goals, your resolutions should be only one: developed India. Now, how are we going to achieve uh, this dream? How are we going to fulfill our dream of Viksit Bharat? So we'll have to look at what is happening today. And when we look at what is happening today, as we all know, we're the fifth largest economy today, and all reputed world's financial institutions forecast that by 2030, we would be the third largest economy. And there are financial institutions, again, internationally reputed, which are forecasting that we might achieve the goal of becoming third largest economy, even before projected time, with the way India is growing, not only in a particular domain, but be it production, be it science and technology, be it AI, be it semiconductors, for example, be it self-sufficiency in the production of weapons, for example. So when we look at India, India is a country that is growing at an enormous pace economically, and the indication is that we're the fifth largest, and very soon we'll become the third largest. And our Viksit Bharat dream tells us that by 2047, we would be Viksit in the sense that we will be world's largest economy. And if we start putting in place the strategic steps, there's nothing in the world that can stop this from happening. So when we look at this enormous economic growth, there's another known factor, there's another great advantage, and that advantage is the demographic dividend that we're talking about. The population of this country, the larger chunk of population in this country is comprising of youth. And on one side, there's this economic growth. On the other side, the Indian demography is so placed that we will be in a position to supply manpower to the rest of the world. It is believed that India is a young country in the aging world. Countries like Japan, countries like Russia, China are facing exactly the reverse position. So if you're speaking of demographic dividend with maximum population within the age group which is defined as youth, countries like China, Japan, Russia, they are grappling with issues which they don't know what are they going to do with the aging population, especially China's one-child policy backfiring. So, at one analysis, we would see that there's this demographic dividend. This demographic dividend is enhanced by the aging population that majority of the financial superpowers have. So the world is looking at India. World is looking at India for the trained, skilled manpower. So now, in order to sustain this growth, economic growth that I was talking about, and then if we then want to leverage this demographic dividend, there are two very crucial factors which is placing India in a strategic position, and that strategic position, and this strategic position needs to be leveraged. So this in order to sustain and then propel this growth trajectory, what we would first need is trained manpower, which not only sustains this economic growth. This economic growth primarily is the result of uh, the industrial production, uh, services sector, everything is contributing to this. But these sectors, industry and services, for example, would require trained manpower. Now, when we say that, uh, the trained manpower would be required, we will have to start looking at our educational institutions, because then, more than ever before, the role of educational institution, especially institutions of higher educations, HEIs as we call them, colleges and universities, they have a role cut out for themselves. Because then they will have to start looking at first the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. You want to achieve a position where you are the world's largest economy. In order to achieve that goal, we will have to start putting strategic steps, strategic measures. And one of that measures is, according to me, creating a skilled manpower. Now, when we look at the present scenario, I mean, India Skills Report 2030, 2023 rather, correcting myself, is an interesting document, and that indicates to some very interesting factors. So when you look at the forward written by Mr. Atul Tiwari, Honorable Secretary, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, he is talking about the vision of this country, the Viksit Bharat of 2047. And he is raising this concern of skill development. The skilled manpower is so crucial today, because then, if we cannot have skilled manpower, we will not be in a position to sustain. Forget sustain. We will have to propel this, because from fifth we want to move to third, and then second, and then first. And then, he is also raising an interesting point here, and that is the role of national education policy. For the first time, we have a Shiksha Niti, Rashtriya Shiksha Niti, as we call it, which is more focused at Indian context, which understands the India's needs. And the policy tells us that, unlike just industries realizing the dearth of skilled manpower, the policy is putting a lot of focus on vocational education. The overarching framework for exposing at least 50% of all learners to vocational education by 2025, and its integration with formal education. So, same facts are stated again. I'm just trying to authenticate the positions that I'm taking. Mr. Nirmal Singh, Chief Convener of India Skills Report, founder and CEO of VBox. This report is put together by VBox, CII, and few other very reputed organizations which are associated with industry. So similar concerns are voiced. He is talking about demographic dividend. He is talking about the strategic position of reaching $40 trillion by 2047. And look at this. Even he is believing that skill education can only bring equity to society, and India would be marching towards more balanced society. So, when we look at the present scenario, we are so well placed as a country. But our focus should remain on creating skilled manpower. Because when you look at the present scenario, uh, we have already talked about demographic dividend, and why skill development and skills education is important is primarily because we will have to leverage this demographic dividend in order to sustain and propel the economic growth, keeping our eye on the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. Uh, when we look at the skill profile of graduates, we will have to uh, do quite a few things to ensure that, along with the domain knowledge, many of them are uh, really good. I think we all know the Indian brain is valued globally. We all know that it was Indian brain which created Silicon Valley, uh, NASA, for example. So, as far as domain knowledge is concerned, as far as core skills are concerned, subject-specific skills are concerned, we're doing a fairly good job. But we will have to now start thinking of integrating skill education in mainstream education. There are certain figures which are given here. Among persons aged at 15 to 29, only 2 have received formal vocational education, and 8% have received non-formal vocational education. So vocational education is going to be the key. And there are enormous amount of initiatives taken by Government of India to ensure that we integrate vocational education, skill education with mainstream education. When we look at the global scenario as far as uh, vocational training is concerned, this is an interesting set of data. When we look at developed economies, in Korea, 96% of the population has received formal vocational training. In Germany, the figure is 75, Japan, it is 80, and in the United States, it's United Kingdom, I'm sorry, 68. So a lot of these developed economies are investing a lot of efforts to ensure that these graduates who come out of education have a fair amount of uh, vocational training. Employability rates are increasing because economic growth automatically would reflect into job creation. And when you look at this, in case of women empowerment, the employability charts are growing higher in case of women. Uh, there is a skill demand. Industry is still, looking at skilled manpower. When we look at the present graduates, their skill profile is not as per the requirement of industries. And therefore, industry academia interface is going to be of a very, very crucial importance. And that needs to be envisioned by we, the academicians, people in academia. When we look at India is poised to fill global demand supply gap. Because when you read this, you have countries which are asking for skilled manpower. And, our demographic position, our demographic situation has created a possibility that not only India, but we will be in a position, if we give our students proper skill education, we will be able to address this demand supply gap as far as skill demand is concerned. What are the challenges of the skill development ecosystem in India? So, as I said, the domain knowledge when we look at students is fairly good. I talked about how Indian brain is valued globally. But as far as employability charts are concerned, probably because what we're teaching in the classroom and what industry requires today is not directly in sync. Uh, a lot of them are failing interviews because sometimes they lack simple skills which we put in the basket of soft skills. A lot of these electrical engineers or uh, data scientists, we live in the world of AI. They have amazing domain knowledge, but then they can't convince you. They can't convince interview panel about what they know. So all they lack is probably communication skills. And if they can acquire core skills, which is so difficult at times, when you talk of AI and data science, you're dealing with world which is emerging, which we don't really know how and where this AI is going to take us. So for creating an ecosystem, these are some of the things that we need to look at: limited access to training, uh, lack of industrial linkages. As I said, I think there has to be a very robust and healthy industry academia interface where, when the national education policy speaks a lot about it, where, if there is no industry academia connect, what we would teach in the classroom may not suffice what industry requires. So uh, that linkages have significant role. Uh, this NSSO, National Sample Survey, has found out that 5% of the enterprises in India have participated in skill development programs. So even industries will have to come out and focus on skill development initiatives. It is not just the responsibility, I believe, of academic institutions, but industry will have to do their bit. And it is when both industry and academia have a very robust interaction, both can set the priorities, and it is the dynamic interaction between the two which can create uh, a sort of a synergy which would propel which would propel the creation of skilled workforce. But for insufficient capacity, sometimes um, the resources available to the institutions are not sufficient for taking skill development programs. Uh, I would now quickly talk about some of the promising initiatives that are taken by Government of India, which would then complete the entire argument. Because when I began my session, I said, that we were in a position of leading the world right from Vedic times, uh, because of the known factors within history, that India's dominance in terms of providing knowledge innovations to the world was subdued. But then we are regaining that position, and we are regaining it um, substantially when we look at uh, India's position today. So one of the first initiatives that I'll talk about is National Skill Development Mission, NSDM. It was announced by Honorable Prime Minister on 15th July 2015. And for the first time, we have now a dedicated Ministry for Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, MSDE. So you can understand that skill development is a national priority, and we as academics will have to start looking outside the box. Our classes should now start accommodating skill training along with the domain subject-specific training that we are giving. There is this PMKVY, Pradhan Mantri Kaushalya Vikas Yojana, which is working with an ambitious goal of providing skill training to 1.37 crore people. Skill development infrastructure is, robustly becoming healthy and productive. This is from Times of India. Skill development infrastructure in the form of PM Kushal Kendras. Under PMKY, there are nearly 2,640 training centers, including PM Kaushal Kendras, offering largest pedagogy, that is the approach to teaching backed by use of technology. Till October 2023, these centers have trained 1.40 crore candidates with a funding of more than 10,000 crores. So this speaks of what ecosystem the country is trying to create. Along with these initiatives, we'll also have to see that national education policy has hidden possibility where educational institutions will be in a position to bring in massive reforms in the education process. We have these, holistic education. We have the policy has conceptualized some very significant changes which would transform India's education. So, multiple entry and exit, horizontal and vertical mobility, to say the list. But one of the most important focus of National Education Policy 2020 is focus on vocational education. And I'll keep connecting myself that it is the skilled manpower which would allow us to propel the growth engines of our country. It is the youth which is ready to be employed. All they need is right knowledge, right skills. I think knowledge and skills alone will not work. We see education. Traditionally, we have seen education as the amalgamation of three very significant elements: knowledge, gyan, skills, kaushalya, and third, values, nitimatta. Because with knowledge and skills, you can create people who can become destructive. We have seen knowledge and skills destructively used by terrorists across the world because they don't have a proper ethical radar guiding them to invest their knowledge and skills in the right pursuits. So I believe we have this demographic dividend which needs to be given right knowledge, right skills, and the value system. And then they would become those productive individuals who would lead us, who would lead this country to this vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. I think I'll make a few last points. I can see that I'm touching an hour mark as far as time given. But when I was going through National Education Policy document, I came across an interesting citation, which I'll share with all of you. And that citation says that it is not West that will come and tell us that skill education is very important. Skill education has been the part of Indian education or Indian knowledge system, if I put it that way. And that citation says that in Bhadavatta's Kadambari, there is a mention of the fact that good education is the knowledge of 64 kalas or arts. तो जो 64 कला में पारंगत है वही शिक्षित है. ये विचार आज का नहीं है. It is part of our shiksha parampara, if I put it that way. And these 64 kalas were classified into scientific fields, vocational fields, professional fields, soft skills. In scientific fields, you have chemistry and mathematics, carpentry and cloth making, medicine and engineering. is professional fields and soft skills, communication, discussion, debate. And this idea of liberal arts is originally an Indian idea. And when Macaulay was introducing English education in 1835, we had, as again stated by Professor Kapil Kapoor, we had as many as 2,57,000 plus gurukuls and pathshalas functioning. And these were the centers of learning which were multidisciplinary in nature. These gurukuls and pathshalas were imparting the knowledge of carpentry, jewelry making, uh, chemistry, even scientific fields like mathematics. So, skill development is not an idea which has come to us from West. We have originally valued skills, and our ancient education uh, was a complete package of what I said: knowledge, skills, and values. Where we're gradually moving again. So we are completing the full circle. There are institutions, as I said, National Skill Development Agency. You can go to the website. They help in creating skill development programs. They do funding, and they do handholding, and in collaboration, we can run skill development. Last point I would make, and I would conclude, skill development initiatives, when you look at in the present scenario, I'm a teacher in the university, I have taught colleges. At the moment, what we're doing is we are offering skill education as an add-on. So we have certificate courses. Because they're add-on, you see reluctance among students to participate, because then they are not going to participate in any activity which falls outside the framework of their credit calculation. So anything add-on has that reluctance because they feel that, well, we want to focus more on our core credit papers. So UGC's common syllabus sounds more like a solution to me, which speaks of core courses, discipline-specific electives, and skill-based electives. Not offering skill programs as add-on, diplomas and certificate. But, if we put them within the credit framework as skill-based electives, then maybe we will be in a position to, make a composite syllabus which is integrated skill education in the mainstream education. I can go on, but then we'll have to respect time. So I would conclude that we are historically poised at a very great strategic position with enormous economic growth and a demographic dividend on our side. There's nothing that can stop us from becoming Viksit Bharat by 2047. But one of the challenges that remains for all of us in academia is to create a productive, futuristic workforce which would allow us to live from fifth to third to second to first largest economy in the world. And for that, we will have to give our youth right knowledge, right skills, and right values. And with this, with a lot of conviction that we would, even before 2047, become a Viksit Bharat. Thank you all very much for being patient listeners. I very humbly presented my vision of 2047 and a roadmap to achieve that goal of being a Viksit Bharat. We will all have to contribute for fulfilling this national dream. I once again thank organizers for the kind of opportunity. Thank you all. Namaste. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Professor Paresh Joshi sir, for your invaluable time, the wonderful talk, and very meaningful insights delivered during your talk. The organizing team of Vedant Knowledge Systems is really obliged and thankful to you for your kind gesture, for your wise words and meaningful interventions. Thank you, sir. Guys, we have with us Dr. Manisha Kumari Deep to deliver a plenary talk. Dr. Manisha Kumari Deep is a distinguished academician, entrepreneur and certified independent director with extensive experience in academia, research and business. Currently a professor at YBN University, Ranchi, she has contributed significantly to education through her teaching, research and curriculum development skills. She has held leadership roles including director at COMITY and Green Gyanam, where she has spearheaded educational initiatives and business operations. With a PhD and a strong background in technical communication, she has trained students, published research papers, authored books across genres, and contributed to prestigious institutions such as Symbiosis Center for Distance Learning and Birla Institute of Technology, Mesra. Her diverse expertise spans IT, management, publishing and entrepreneurship, making her a multifaceted professional dedicated to education and innovation. We have this opportunity to listen to Dr. Manisha ji. Let's invite her to deliver her plenary talk.
Tie hands together, online education can be provided in remote and rural areas, thus reducing digital divide. Mode of education can be in Hindi medium, thus making learning easy and interesting. Moreover, curriculum should be made suitable to job markets, environment challenges, and technological advancement, making updation and refinement of emotional and content mandatory. Educational institutions will need to retain talents and also train them in evolving structure of educational system and changing curriculum. Teachers must not just be imparters of concepts but also motivators and inspirations. Be it a formal or informal education system, promoting sustainability must become a mainstream endeavor. Educational institutions and teachers can impact students and teach them values that align with the SDGs. They can also equip students with tools that they need to contribute positively to society. From working at individual levels, slowly one can move to sustainable cities and communities. Private-public partnerships can be entered to achieve SDGs. Beyond technical, life skills, and knowledge, educational institutions and teachers have the power to change societal mindsets. Unsustainable practices like unmindful consumption and disregarding environmental consequences can be changed with education, as education can challenge these norms and instill a sense of responsibility towards environment and society. Educational institutions need to create sustainable livelihoods by providing training in green technologies and green agriculture practices. Educational institutions should encourage their students to start startups that contribute to both economic and societal well-being. Education can become an essential tool for breaking the cycle of poverty and environmental degradation. Thus, educational institutions and teachers are two pillars contributing towards SDGs. Youths are the shaping pillar of SDGs who will contribute more in making India a developed nation by 2047. Today's youth need to work for national upliftment and be the change for better society and environment through their actions. Addressing the Viksit Bharat Young Leaders Dialogue at Bharat Mandapam, PM Modi had said that he has blind faith on Swami Vivekananda and his belief on the country's youth, and urged them to take ownership of the nation's future, calling for active participation in shaping policies, fostering innovation, and considering politics as a platform for impactful action. PM Modi believes that the determination of crores of youth is propelling the nation forward, and we will surely achieve our targets. Youths can play a crucial role in achieving the SDGs is by taking up the role of innovators and entrepreneurs. They can also act as communicators and change makers, addressing key issues of SDGs through awareness campaigns, community engagements, leadership roles, and grassroots activism. We need to encourage and empower our youths to bring change. Youths need to be trained through workshops, seminars, and training programs to equip them with leadership, management, and communication skills. Government collaboration here is the key driver towards policy making and decision making processes. Youths can digitally engage on social media platforms to raise awareness, gather support, make action plans, and connect with diverse stakeholders on SDG issues. In context of SDGs in India, stakeholders from society play a crucial role through specific, thoughtful actions, collaboration, and advocacy. Different stakeholders play different roles, like role of government would be different when compared with an NGO or a private sector or a citizen. The government frames policies and enforces law, whereas the private sector or public sector works on CSR and sustainable business practices, which are important to achieve SDGs by opting for environmentally friendly products and services. NGOs' role in raising awareness, engaging with local communities about SDG, and monitoring and advocating it among communities cannot be taken lightly. We have already discussed academia's role and the citizens' role in consuming SDG information, and participating in advocacy of it cannot be ignored. Here, collaboration is key, and decision making should be data driven. Contextualization is important because India is a land of diversity and there are different states and communities. So SDGs should be region driven based on their requirement. Summarizing all of the above stated facts, it can be said that educational institutions, teachers, youth, stakeholders of society have an independent and significant role to play in achieving SDGs. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Manisha Kumari Deepji, for your very beautiful talk, your wise words and time. Team Vedant is really thankful to you for your wise words and invaluable time. Thank you, madam. It's my pleasure to introduce you to our plenary speaker, Dr. Vishal Bhadani. Dr. Vishal Bhadani is one of the finest speakers and educators. He is a teacher by heart, serving to Lokbharati Rural Innovation University, Sanosara, Gujarat as Pro Vice Chancellor. His innovative approach towards holistic education makes him unique. He writes creative short stories and he is established translator in English Gujarati languages. Let me invite Dr. Vishal Bhadani to talk to all of us.
Namaste to one and all participating in this wonderful conference regarding Sustainable Development Goals. Well, I'm here to pinpoint a very specific topic, which is how teachers can be SDG enablers, how they can contribute in bridging the gaps and building futures for Viksit Bharat. I think it has been long due on teachers' part to really think holistically. We have been discussing the idea of holistic education for quite a while now. However, we have not been seriously realized it in terms of some actionable, some feasible initiatives and systems and maybe programs and activities. So they have been subject to only titles of conferences and research papers. Thankfully, we are here now on the same page in the same book to discuss these ideas. I want to make only 3 points over here regarding how teachers can be the major drivers in this mission of realizing sustainable development goals. My first argument is that teachers should project themselves, advocate for, as thinkers, because as we know that the whole world goes around because of ideas. And if teachers can really develop their ideas, give them, substantiated research base, and then launch them meticulously, we can really mark a dent on this, historical problem that we have created. Why I'm saying historical problem? Because if you study the data that are coming regarding climate and, animal welfare, it's really alarming. For example, during World Wars only, Britain killed 4 lakh cats just to prepare food for the soldiers. To extract oil, entire Europe killed 1,75,000 of whales. Now this is staggering because we need policymakers who can really think through these issues of how this little animals, insects and even bacteria contribute to the overall well-being of this planet. So for that, teachers have to really play a major role by activating thinking capacity of their students. So why not we have thinking clubs in our colleges and universities, not just for SDGs but for anything. We must have our own R&D. Usually R&Ds find their places in corporate houses, but in the classroom also we must have a group of students who work as R&D or who work as a devil's advocate for really triggering the discussion in a more meaningful and a constructive way. Osho had very famously said about the teachers that if you are not inherently bubbling with ideas and bubbling with great dissatisfaction with the world, you can't be teachers. Now, we have reasons to believe in his argument that teachers as thinkers at the initial level, they have played a vital role in the shaping of this world. Secondly, when they are thinking, they are on the lofty Platonic ideals. We also need Aristotelian teachers who can bring all those wonderful ideas and bring them down on real ground zero situations. For example, it is one thing to run a course on environmental studies and sustainability, but it is completely different thing to practice one of these. For example, can we make our campuses, to start with our classrooms, plastic-free zones? Can our students really learn from our lives? I think modeling behavior has always been one of the greatest ways of effective teaching. But when it comes to sustainable development goals, we should understand that it is not just a question of sustenance. It is the real question is of nurturing. But unless we sustain what we have, we can't nurture it. That's why it could be probably 1.0 of what we are discussing. When it comes to 2.0, we need teachers who can really practice simplicity, who can really be with nature. And in that sense, the educational institutions largely should find their place in nature rather than, amidst the hustling and bustling of the city lives. Can we have now campuses located amidst the nature with an awareness that we will not disturb nature? So for that we need teachers as thinkers, teachers as practitioners who can drive change through the articles, through the public lectures, through conversations and through creative initiations. My second point is that when we are saying that we need to bridge gaps and build futures, what do we really mean by gaps? Have we identified these gaps with proper field study? Do we really understand what do we mean by building future? Is it just economic? Is it just materialistic? Because of late we have realized in these past 2 centuries that we are paying a very big price for all the materialistic development. We have skyscrapers and we have a hyperloop and all fantastic things, but at the cost of something that nurtures our lives. So in order to bridge the gap, my simple and humble submission is we must have real life, not just on paper, real life multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary inquiries. Usually in academia what happens is any good policy comes to the classroom and it is just some form of maneuvering of the previous policy, but we are not hitting where it hurts the most. So the concept of liberal arts, yes, a very welcome concept, rather than narrow specializations and micro specialization. We need people who can understand the big picture of life, the way wars, the way conflicts, the way overconsumption is depleting the very quality of life and nature is beyond repair in certain sense. However, I believe that if we can meticulously plan our curricula in a way that we allow multidisciplinary inquiry. For example, here I am sitting in a very remote area of Gujarat. My university is situated in the rural areas of Gujarat. Our university is called Lokbharati University for Rural Innovations. So we are focusing on solving rural problems through sustainable innovations. So in order to achieve such a big dream, because when you say rural problems, you are talking about agriculture, you are talking about women empowerment, you are talking about education, health, all at the same time, because unless you solve them, they can't be part of the mainstream and leverage what other people can. But here the caveat is that making rural participate in the mainstream would also mean adding to the consumption. So here what we are trying to do is we have choreographed our curriculum in such a way that we not only have courses in sustainability and environment, but we also have courses which make students think. For instance, in the foundation courses, we teach them thinking skills, we teach them study skills, and we engage them in a very interesting course called survey. We also have a program on Indian knowledge systems, which is basically how Indian lifestyle is centered around the holistic concept of the earth. And all this is being taught not in a very watertight jacketed framework of credits, but we are staying in a Gurukul system. So all the teachers, students, we stay on the same campus. We have our own agriculture, so we grow our own organic food. We have a cattle breeding farm, we have ghee cows, we have our own vegetable nursery, wheat and other grain plots. So everything that we teach is part of their daily schedule. Only then it becomes a habit. It is not just pen and paper based learning that we have. Also, in terms of specialization and multidisciplinary inquiry, what we have done is that it is mandatory for all the students of agriculture to study literature, to study poetry, to study plays and perform them, and vice versa. All the students who are studying literature, they get their hands dirty in agriculture, in rural economics, and they have to study plant breeding and all sorts of courses. So over the years we have realized that it really helps, it really works For example, if you visit our campus, you will see we have a huge campus spread across 165 acres, wherein we harvest every drop of rainwater. So our annual consumption of entire campus, we are dependent on rain, and we take that water. We don't use those fancy filters and RO plants. We take rainwater. We eat organic food. So we are in the company of 100 plus bird species. Students look after the cows. So this is what I mean by when teachers become practitioners and when students also go for multidisciplinary inquiry, the real magic can happen. Besides, in order to make them aware of SDGs and their role into it, they have to travel. So as part of our curriculum, tours and traveling have been creditized. So they have to travel to different parts of state and country, and they have to observe, and they have to make videos as part of their project submission. They have to make reports and then make presentations, and each and every concept is linked to one of the SDGs. We have done it for 7 decades. Even before the term SDG was not coined, we have been catering to all of them. In fact, some of our concepts go beyond SDGs. So this is what I say when I said that we must have an approach, a systematic approach or holistic approach towards looking at enabling students to visualize and to connect the dots while pursuing whatever specializations they have. So my big statement is, let us abolish specializations. Let's go for generalist education, at least at undergrad level. After that, we must go for specialization, but at undergraduation, we must have those sorts of multidisciplinary inquiry. My third point is that all good things said and done, but unless you make it part of the evaluation, students and teachers and larger society don't take things seriously, at least in India. So I believe that let us make SDGs part of the evaluation process. Now how do we practically ensure that it becomes it? So each question paper that we draw, each project that we give, each assignment that we demand must have at least 33% component which is directly connected to SDGs. Let's have 33% which is indirectly connected to SDGs, and the rest of 33% could be independent of SDGs. And this trio could prepare students to look at their subject from the prism of SDGs. Well, that also entails recruitment. Why can't we ensure that students must earn SDG credits? As we have carbon credits, we must have a system for earning SDG credits, and we should have certain points reserved during the recruitment process, both in government and private sector, that students with certain level of SDG credits, they are given priorities. How about that? Because incentivization always works. Secondly, during the workplaces, we also can have appraisal system which is linked to SDGs. That employees who are rather aware and practicing stuff about SDGs, they must be given add-on points in that appraisal, and then we may think of promotions. So what we have done is we have started with teachers, then we have involved students, and now we're involving job givers and employers. So 1, 2, 3, if we can launch this from any of these systems that we have, administrative systems that we have in place, I think we will have a greater hope in managing some of the problems that we have today. So I urge all the research scholars, all the students to be active thinkers, thinkers per se, because once you are thinker, there is no way you can ignore SDG. There is no way you can ignore this, serious concerns. And once you are thinker, if you could see things clearly, then it is impossible not to practice some of them. At least to start with, some of them. So that would help us be role models for our own students. And then, so now you are a thinker, you are a practitioner, you are a policy maker who is developing policies which have multidisciplinary inquiries. And then these inquiries translate into their evaluation process. Students will understand that, oh well, if I go for plastic bricks, making use of waste plastic and make some eco bricks, then I'll get some marks, I'll get some credits. Or if I go for my project and if I align with certain goals of SDG, that will be academically rewarding for me. And finally, for the employers, they can also have rubrics that we want these kinds of employees with these kinds of SDG credits. So we would love to hire them all. So likewise, I think this framework can be easily adopted and it can be implemented in a smaller scale, let's say in a pilot project, and then we look at the data and then we analyze them and then we recalibrate the whole process, and then likewise maybe let's say over a decade we'll be able to come out with a really good white paper on something that can be that can be scaled, right? So I think I've said it all, and I hope that together we can really make a difference beyond this conference also, because unless we see flowers in the garden, there's no point in discussing how to grow flowers. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Vishal Bhadani, for your wonderful talk. The entire Vedant Knowledge Systems Private Limited is grateful to you for your time, love and wise words. Thank you very much. Dear friends, do you know it is always heartening for the conference organizers to have special guests to grace and bless the event. Let me invite and introduce our today's guest speaker, Shri Jwalant by Chhaya. Jwalant by Chhaya is a renowned journalist and writer from the land of Gandhi, Gujarat. He is serving to Phulchhab daily as the chief editor. He has been serving as a senior correspondent at prestigious publication Chitralekha. Prior to that, he worked for Divya Bhaskar for almost a decade. Additionally, he has also worked with Ajkal, a well-known evening daily in Rajkot. His insights in journalism and literature are immense. Let's listen his very interesting talk. Shri Jwalant by Chhaya.
नमस्कार, आप सबको वसंत ऋतु की हृदयपूर्वक बधाई। वेदांत नमस्कार, आप सबको वसंत ऋतु की हृदयपूर्वक शुभकामनाएं। वेदांत नॉलेज सिस्टम के इस ग्लोबल प्लेटफॉर्म पर हम मिल रहे हैं। खुशी इस बात की है कि हम इस समय में जी रहे हैं जहां पर हम एक ही समय अलग अलग देश, अलग अलग प्रांत, अलग अलग जगहों पर भी एक हो सकते हैं। हम सब जब चाहें तब ऑनलाइन हो सकते हैं, लेकिन हमारी जरूरत आज भी यही है कि हम लोग ऑन द स्पॉट हों। बहुत अच्छा विषय मुझे दिया गया है आप सबसे संवाद करने के लिए, और जिस अवधि में मैं आपसे बात करूंगा तो मैं सिर्फ उसकी झलक दे पाऊंगा ऐसा मुझे लग रहा है। मुझे जिस बात के लिए, जिस संवाद के लिए कहा गया वो है विकसित भारत में पत्रकारिता और साहित्य की भूमिका। तो पहले बहुत जल्द विकसित भारत क्या, या तो विकसित शब्द क्या है, उसको हम व्याख्यायित करने का प्रयास करें, क्योंकि विकास एक बहुत ही जैसे हम कहें कि नाजुक शब्द है, और इसको अगर हम पूरी तरह से ना समझें या तो इसके बारे में अगर कोई मिसअंडरस्टैंडिंग हो तो फिर पूरी बात, पूरा विषय बदल भी सकता है। तो ये विकसित भारत क्या है? मैं एक भी टेक्नोलॉजी से परहेज नहीं करता, एक भी टेक्नोलॉजी का मैं विरोधी नहीं हूं। तो अगर बहुत बड़े पुल हमारे यहाँ बन रहे हैं, ये हमारे इंजीनियरों की सफलता है। हमारे यहाँ समुद्र के अंदर से कोई रास्ता बन रहा है, कोई राह बन रही है, तो ये हमारे इंजीनियर्स की बहुत बड़ी सफलता है। कश्मीर में विश्व का सबसे ऊंचा रेलवे ब्रिज तैयार हो गया है। ये हमारी तकनीकी पूरी जो यात्रा है भारत की, उसका एक बहुत बड़ा सीमा चिन्ह है। तो इसको हम विकास नहीं मानते, ऐसा हम कभी नहीं कहेंगे। ये भौतिक विकास है और इसकी आज के विश्व में और वैश्विक दौर में, वैश्विक संदर्भ में आज के भारत को अत्यंत आवश्यकता है। तो हम ऐसी कोई बात नहीं करेंगे जिसे हम अंग्रेजी में, इंग्लिश भाषा में इम्प्रैक्टिकल बोले, जिसे हम अव्यवहारू कहें कि ये विकास नहीं है, विकास तो मानवों का होना चाहिए, सब कुछ समांतर होना चाहिए, पैरेलल डेवलपमेंट होना चाहिए। तो विकसित भारत में हम ये क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग या तो रोबोटिक सर्जरी या तो आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, इसको हम डेफिनेटली, इसको हम बेझिझक विकास कहेंगे। लेकिन विकास की यात्रा, विकास सिर्फ शब्द नहीं है, विकास एक विभावना है, और इस विकास की विभावना को हम यहां तक सीमित नहीं रख सकते हैं। तो विकसित भारत, बड़े बड़े अच्छे पुल, विकसित भारत, अच्छा कंप्यूटर का नॉलेज, विकसित भारत, हमारी इंफॉर्मेशन टेक्नोलॉजी, ये सब विकसित भारत है। लेकिन पूर्ण रूप से विकसित भारत हमारे पूर्वजों ने जिसकी कल्पना की थी कि हम मानसिक रूप से स्वतंत्र हो, हम आर्थिक रूप से स्वतंत्र हो, हम वैचारिक रूप से स्वतंत्र हो, ये भी विकसित भारत है। और ये कोई आज की बात नहीं है। आज हम ग्लोबल हो गए हैं, आज हमारे पास प्रत्यायन की कई सुविधाएं हैं, प्रत्यायन के कई माध्यम हैं। हम एक 10-12 हजार के मोबाइल फोन से शुरू होकर बहुत अच्छे लैपटॉप और उससे भी अच्छी जो उपकरण हमारे पास आ रही है, उससे हम विश्व से जुड़ रहे हैं, जुड़ चुके हैं। लेकिन वैश्विक होना ये हमारे मूल में है। हमारे शास्त्रों ने कहा है, आनो भद्रा कृतवो यन्तु। हमारे शास्त्रों ने यह कहा है कि सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया। तो ये जो वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम, जिसका उपयोग हमने G20 कॉन्फ्रेंस में किया, वो तो हमारे मूल में है। हमारे शास्त्रों ने हजारों साल पहले, सैकड़ों साल पहले ये बात कही है। तो भारत तो पहले से ही वैश्विक था। अब आज विकसित भारत के बारे में हम एक संवाद कर रहे हैं। तो ये विकसित होना, उसका पहला चरण, उसकी पहली शर्त यह है कि वैश्विक होना, और हम हो चुके हैं। तो ये वैश्विक और विकसित भारत अब आज कैसे बढ़ रहा है? देखिए, हर समय को अपनी एक टेक्नोलॉजी होती है और हर टेक्नोलॉजी को अपना एक समय होता है। हर युग को प्रभावित करने वाली घटनाएं होती है और हर एक घटना को प्रभावित करने वाले या तो उसको जन्म देने वाले लोग होते हैं। और ऐसे पूरा देश, पूरा प्रांत, पूरा एक भूखंड जो है वो बन के उभर आता है। तो जब भारत ये शब्द आए तो हमारे मन में ये कश्मीर से लेकर कन्याकुमारी तक का एक बहुत बड़ा नक्शा, और हमारे चारों तरफ ये लहराता समुद्र, ऐसी बात आती है तो ये सिर्फ भौगोलिक भारत है। और भारत सिर्फ भौगोलिक खंड नहीं, हालांकि विश्व के किसी भी देश को हम सिर्फ भौगोलिक नजरिए से नहीं देख सकते, नहीं देखना चाहिए, लेकिन हम बात कर रहे हैं भारत की। तो मैं ये कहना चाहूंगा कि भारत ये सिर्फ कोई जमीन का टुकड़ा नहीं है, ये अपने आप में एक विचारधारा है, ये अपने आप में एक उपदेश देने वाली भूमि और उपदेश देने वाली जीवन शैली है। और इसके विकास के साथ विश्व का विकास और इसकी कई प्रजाओं का विकास जो है वो जुड़ा हुआ है। तो मेरे हिसाब से विकसित भारत यानी हम वैचारिक रूप से विकसित हो, हम संकीर्ण ना रहकर सबके बारे में सोचे, सबके लिए सोचे, और जो सूत्र हमें मिला है सबका साथ सबका विकास, ये भी विकसित भारत का एक पुराना मंत्र है जो कि आज हमें नए रूप में मिला है। तो ये विकसित भारत सिर्फ बड़े बांध, या टेक्नोलॉजी या भव्य संकुल स्कूल और कॉलेज के वहां तक सीमित नहीं है। हमारे गुजराती के एक बहुत मनीषी कक्षा के कवि और ज्ञानपीठ अवार्ड विजेता उमाशंकर जोशी ने कहा था कि जब सब इमारतें गिर जाएं, उसके बाद जो बचता है वो यूनिवर्सिटी है। तो भारत बिना दीवारों की एक बहुत बड़ी यूनिवर्सिटी है। नालंदा तो यहाँ की धरोहर थी और हमने उसको री इन्वेंट किया है, और ऐसे कई विश्वविद्यालय, ऐसे कई संस्थान यहाँ पर थे जिसने सदियों से इस पूरे विश्व को कुछ न कुछ प्रदान किया है। लेकिन उसके बाद भी हम कहीं पर बंधे नहीं है। तो आज का विकसित भारत ये टेक्नोलॉजी से सज्ज भारत तो है, लेकिन आज का विकसित भारत ये वही भारत है जिसने सबको अपने आप में समावेश किया था, और जो अपने आप में अपनी क्षितिजों को उसने खुद विस्तारा था। अब इस विकसित भारत में, आज के भारत में, पत्रकारिता और साहित्य की भूमिका, ये दोनों क्षेत्र ऐसे हैं कि जिसकी बहुत बड़ी भूमिका हर क्षेत्र, हर युग में, हर समय में, हर क्षेत्र को विकसित करने के लिए रही है। ये कोई एक प्रांत है या कोई एक प्रदेश है, ये एक कोई शहर है, कोई एक भाषा है जिसकी पत्रकारिता, जिसका साहित्य, ये तत्व है जिसको पूरी संस्कृति को उजागर करने का एक मौका, एक अवसर उसको प्राप्त होता है। और अगर ये दोनों क्षेत्र कहीं पर चूक गए तो नुकसान उस दोनों क्षेत्र को ही नहीं है, पूरे समाज को, पूरी एक व्यवस्था को है। और हम अगर देखें पिछले सालों को, पिछले सदियों को, तो भारत को ऐसे ऐसे लोग मिले और हर प्रांत से मिले जिसने अपने अपने विचारों से, अपनी अपनी विचारधाराओं से एक सांस्कृतिक माहौल बना के रखा और इस देश को उसकी भेंट दी। हम अपनी धरती को कहते हैं बहुरत्ना वसुंधरा। पिछले दिनों पद्म पुरस्कार की घोषणा हुई। हमने देखा कि हमारे हर प्रांत में, हर क्षेत्र में कोई ना कोई ऐसा है जो इनोवेटिव काम करता है, फिर वो चाहे गुजरात हो, चाहे पश्चिम बंगाल हो, चाहे महाराष्ट्र हो, दक्षिण के राज्य हो, उत्तर भारत हो, उत्तराखंड हो, या तो पूर्वोत्तर हो। जहां तक भौतिक सुविधाएं कम पहुंची थी अब तक, वहां पर भी सांस्कृतिक विरासत है, वो तो बहुत सदियों से, बहुत सालों से थी। और इस पूरी जो व्यवस्था ये जो है, हम उसको भारत कहते हैं। सिर्फ एक प्रांत या 28 राज्य या पहले 20 राज्य या पहले 19 राज्य, वो तो सिर्फ भारत की भौगोलिक और राजकीय व्यवस्था थी, प्रशासनिक व्यवस्था थी। ये पूरा भारत यह है कि कहीं पर एक प्रकार का नृत्य होता है, कहीं पर उसी को हम गरबा बोलते हैं, कहीं पर उसी को हम लावणी बोलते हैं। ये जो पूरा मिला के एक फूलों की एक छाप जो बनती है, गुलदस्ता बनता है, वो भारत है। और इस विकसित भारत को हर समय पत्रकारिता और साहित्य के क्षेत्र में बहुत बड़े लोगों ने अपना योगदान दिया है। अब इसकी अगर हम पूरी विवरण करें इसका, या तो उसका हम लिस्ट बनाए, उसकी हम एक पूरी यादी जो बनाए, वो तो बहुत समय भी लगेगा। और अगर हम 50 नाम ले लें तो भी 51 से 1000 नाम तक छूट जाएंगे। और अगर हम 1000 नाम यहां पर जोड़ ले तो 1001वां नाम जो है वो छूट जाएगा। लेकिन बंगाल ने हमें गुरुदेव दिए, गुजरात ने हमें उमाशंकर और झवेरचंद मेघानी और दर्शक दादा दिए, महाराष्ट्र से हमें कोई मिला, दक्षिण से हमें कोई मिला। ये सब लोगों ने अपने अपने हिसाब से, अपनी अपनी विचारधाराओं से अलग अलग युग आए। भक्ति युग था तो राजस्थान से मीराबाई निकली, उसके 50-100 साल इधर उधर यहाँ गुजरात से नरसिंह निकले। और नरसिंह मेहता ने न सिर्फ कृष्ण भगवान की भक्ति की, उन्होंने श्रृंगार भी गाया, उन्होंने विज्ञान की भी बात की। आज अंतरिक्ष में भारत ने जो अपना योगदान दिया और अपना जो एक भारत जो अचीव कर रहा है, हमने चंद्रयान वहां पर भेज दिया, अभी हमने डॉकिंग की सिद्धि भी हासिल कर ली। उस अंतरिक्ष के लिए नरसिंह ने आज से 600 साल पहले कुछ बातें लिखी थी, ब्रह्म लटका करे ब्रह्म पासे। तो ये गुजरात से हमें नरसिंह मिले, वहां श्रीगौड़ करके चैतन्य वहां से निकले, महाराष्ट्र से हमें तुकाराम मिले। तो ये 50 साल 100 साल के अंतराल में कितना बड़ा एक भक्ति आंदोलन हमारे यहाँ। ये अगर हम बनारस की बात करें तो हमें तुरंत ही कबीर का स्मरण होगा, जो कि जिसकी आज बहुत जरूरत है। जो जो आक्रमण हमारे ऊपर, सांस्कृतिक आक्रमण हमारे पर हो रहा है, तो उसमें कबीर वो हमारे प्रतिनिधि के रूप में खड़े रह सकते हैं। मतलब ये बहुत बड़ी और बहुत लंबी चर्चा है। तो इस भारत को हर युग में किसी ना किसी ने, तुलसीदास जी ने हमें रामायण दिया, वाल्मीकि जी ने और व्यास जी ने रामायण और महाभारत दिए। तो भारत को विकसित करने में अगर कोई बोले कि साहित्य की क्या भूमिका होती है, तो मैं जाऊंगा सीधे मनुभाई पंचोली दर्शक दादा के पास। दर्शक ने रामायण और महाभारत के बारे में बहुत विश्लेषणात्मक बातें लिखी है। दोनों महाकाव्यों को, दोनों ग्रंथों को हमारे सामने खोल दिया है। और दर्शक दादा ये कहते हैं कि भारत के लोगों में से, भारत की प्रजा में से उन्होंने कोई धर्म विशेष, कोई जाति विशेष का उल्लेख नहीं किया। उन्होंने ये लिखा है कि भारत में से अगर हम रामायण और महाभारत को निकालेंगे तो कुछ बचेगा नहीं। तो ये दोनों महाग्रंथ, ये हालांकि हमारे लिए तो ये श्रद्धा का प्रतीक है, हमारी आस्था के वो ग्रंथ है और हमारे अवतारों की बात उसमें है, लेकिन हम उसको सिर्फ साहित्य कृतियों के माध्यम से ही जानना चाहें तो इस दो ग्रंथों ने जो हमें दिया है वो पूर्ण है। और उसमें जो है, महाभारत के बारे में तो ये कहा जाता है कि महाभारत में है वो सभी जगह है और महाभारत में जो नहीं वो कहीं पर नहीं है। तो ये रामायण और महाभारत आज से नहीं, सैकड़ों सालों से भारत के विकास में उसकी भूमिका रही है। अब इसको हम राजनीति से जोड़ें, इसको हम समाज जीवन से जोड़ें, इसको हम उद्योग से जोड़ें, इसको हम सामाजिक ऊर्ध्वीकरण और उत्थान से जोड़ें, जो कुछ भी बातें इसमें है उसके हिसाब से ही भारत आज तक चल रहा है। तो विकसित भारत में साहित्य की भूमिका तो आज की बात है, लेकिन जिस भारत को हम पिछड़ा हुआ मानते थे, या तो अगर हम उस शब्द का उपयोग ना करें तो आज से कई साल पहले भारत की जो स्थिति थी उसमें भी हमें रामायण और महाभारत नाम के ग्रंथ और फिर उसके आधार पर हर भाषा में कालिदास ने रघुवंश और कुमार संभव के माध्यम से कुछ कहा, हमारे गुजरात के कवियों ने कुछ और कहा, महाराष्ट्र के कवियों ने कुछ, लेकिन जो देश जो है, मैं ये कहता हूं कि भारत की हर भाषा में, भारत के हर प्रांत में अनेक नदियां बह रही है, लेकिन उसका जो ग्लेशियर जो है, उसका जो हिम शिखर है, मूल जो है, जो गौमुख जिसे हम कहते हैं, तो वो तो रामायण और महाभारत है। फिर वहां से धाराएं प्रकटी और कोई नदी अलकनंदा कहलाती है, कोई भागीरथी कहलाती है, कोई आकर गंगा मैया बनती है, कोई यमुना के स्वरूप में हमें पल्लवित करती है। तो वैसे ही हमारी कई भाषाओं में जो सर्जन हुए, कई भाषाओं में जो फिर चाहे वो उपन्यास के रूप में हो, फिर चाहे वो नाट्य कृति के रूप में हो, फिर चाहे वो कविता के रूप में हो, उसका ग्लेशियर्स जो है वो रामायण और महाभारत है। तो आज तक ये होता हुआ आ रहा है। अब सीधे हम चले आए हैं युगों को, सालों को पीछे छोड़कर, या तो उसको साइड में रख के। तो आज का जो भारत है, हम पिछले 25 साल, पिछले 30 साल, पिछले 10 साल जो भी अवधि रख लें, उसमें तो साहित्य और पत्रकारिता की भूमिका अत्यंत आवश्यक है, अनिवार्य है, और शायद कल से ज्यादा उसकी जरूरत है, क्योंकि पूरा विश्व जो है वो हमारे पास अलग अलग माध्यम से आ रहा है। हमारे पास मोबाइल में ढेर सारी एप्स हैं, हमारे पास मोबाइल में, टीवी में वेब सीरीज के माध्यम से कुछ आ रहा है, कुछ रील्स के माध्यम से आ रहा है, कुछ वीडियोस वायरल हो रहे हैं, और ये सब प्रलोभन है। ये सब ऐसी बातें हैं कि युवा मानस तो क्या, वयस्क लोग भी उसमें अगर आ जाए उसकी लपेट में और झपेट में, तो वो बच नहीं सकते। और उसी के सामने अगर हमारी कोई मदद कर सकता है तो वो साहित्य और पत्रकारिता है। देखिए, हमारे भारत ने स्वतंत्रता का एक बहुत बड़ा संग्राम देखा और उसको महसूस किया, और वो पूरा भारत जो है वो लड़ा। देश स्वतंत्र होना चाहिए, देश पर बाहरी सत्ता नहीं होनी चाहिए, ऐसा पहला विचार 1857 में किसी को आया। फिर मां लक्ष्मीबाई कहीं से निकल पड़ी कि मेरी झांसी नहीं दूंगी। मंगल पांडे जैसा एक युवा सैनिक जो कि भारत माता की सेवा में अपना जीवन समर्पित कर गए। कहीं से तात्या आए, कहीं से पेशवा आए। ये पहली क्रांति हमारे देश में हुई, और फिर 90 साल ये प्रजा शोषित होती रही, कोई सबल नेतृत्व नहीं था, सबके मन में यह था कि ये गलत हो रहा है। उससे पहले जो क्रांतियां हुई वो सामाजिक क्रांति हुई कि हम बेटी को गर्म दूध में डालकर मारे नहीं, या तो हम सती प्रथा जो है उसका विरोध करें, मतलब सोशल रिफॉर्मेशन का एक बहुत बड़ा दौर चला। लेकिन ये देश को आजाद होना चाहिए और फिर अपने पैरों पर खड़े होकर देश को विकसित होना चाहिए, वो बात सबके मन में थी, लेकिन कुछ हो नहीं रहा था। फिर एक बार स्वतंत्रता संग्राम आया, सब विचारधाराएं उसमें थी। कुछ लोग ऐसे थे जो कह रहे थे कि भाई लड़ना चाहिए, चाहे हम शहीद हो जाएं, चाहे हम मर जाएं मातृभूमि के लिए, लेकिन ये देश आजाद होना चाहिए। एक विचारधारा थी कि हम अहिंसा के मार्ग से आजादी लेंगे। एक विचारधारा थी कि जहां तक ये हो सके वहां तक ठीक है, वरना उसके आगे तो हमें अगर कोई और देश से जुड़ाव करना पड़े, कोई संगठन करना पड़े, संधि करनी पड़े। ये सब अलग अलग विचार थे, लेकिन मूल में तो एक ही बात थी। रास्ते अलग थे लेकिन मंजिल एक थी कि भारत मां को स्वतंत्रता दिलाए। और उस वक्त जो साहित्य हमें मिला, हमें बंकिम चंद्र जी ने आनंद बट दिया, जो कि आज तक अगर हम वंदे मातरम सुने तो हमारे रोंगटे खड़े हो जाएंगे। और उस दौरान कई साहित्य कृतियां हमें मिली। फिर पूरे भारत में गांधी जी का एक प्रभाव हुआ, तो जिसको साहित्य को भी गांधी युग के नाम से पहचाना गया। और कोई कविता लिखता तो गांधी विचार की, कोई अगर पत्रकारिता, कोई अगर अखबार शुरू करता तो वो गांधी विचार से प्रेरित होकर करता, कोई अगर कोर्ट में जाता तो गांधी विचार से प्रेरित होकर कुछ बोलता। तो ये पूरा एक दौर था स्वतंत्रता का, जिसमें न सिर्फ गुजराती भाषा में और भाषाओं में भी इस विचार का पूरा प्रभुत्व था। देश आजाद हुआ, देश स्वतंत्र हुआ, देश ने अपने पैरों पर खड़े होकर आगे बढ़ने की एक शुरुआत की। और 30-40 साल का एक दौर हुआ तो आपातकाल की घोषणा हुई। मैं किसी पॉलिटिकल एंगल से ये बात नहीं कर रहा, मैं भारत के विविध जो स्तबक जो है उसके विकास के, फिर वो चाहे राजनीतिक हो, सामाजिक हो, उसके बारे में बात कर रहा हूं। तो ये आपातकाल जो है वो फिर से एक बार पत्रकारिता की और साहित्य की एक बहुत बड़ी कसौटी का दौर था। और उसमें जो पत्रकारिता को जिस तरह से उसमें साइडलाइन करने की कोशिश हुई थी, तो ये क्षेत्र बहुत ही जिसे हम जलद तो नहीं कह सकते, लेकिन बहुत ही जुस्से वाले, जोश वाले रूप में उभर कर और अच्छी तरह से बाहर आया। भूगत पत्रिकाएं निकली, पुस्तकें लिखी गई, और आपातकाल के दौरान साहित्य की भी कई कृति हमारे पास आई। उसके बीच ये देश आजाद हुआ और हम आजाद भारत हम कहलाने लगे, विश्व का सबसे बड़ा गणतंत्र। उसके बीच जो विभाजन की हमने विभीषिका देखी, देश का जो बंटवारा हुआ, तो उसके दौरान जो साहित्य की रचना हुई, दोनों तरफ जो परेशानी थी वो तो आम लोगों की थी, सियासती लोगों की नहीं थी। और उस वक्त जो कहानियां रची गई, उस वक्त जो कविताएं रची गई, आज भी अगर हम उसको पढ़ लें तो हमें यह विश्वास नहीं होता कि मानव जात पर इतने बड़े आक्रमण और इतनी बड़ी प्रताड़ना, यातना से ये गुजरे होंगे। तो हर युग में, हर समय में साहित्य ने समाज को एक बल दिया है, एक समर्थन दिया है, और मैं ये कहूंगा कि एक कंधा दिया है। अगर समाज को रोना है तो साहित्य और पत्रकारिता कंधा बनकर खड़े रहे कि आओ हम खड़े हैं। तो उसके बाद ये जो हुई आपातकाल की जो घटनाएं थी, तो उसमें कई लोग ऐसे थे, मतलब उसमें कवि दिनकर ने भी कुछ लिखा, उसमें उमाशंकर जी ने भी कुछ लिखा, उसमें अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी ने तो जेल में रहकर कई कविताएं लिखी थी। जैसे एक बरस बीत गया झुलसाता जेठ मास, शरद चांदनी उदास, सिसकी भरते सावन का, अंतरघट रीत गया, एक बरस बीत गया। तो मैं तो ये मुझे अभी याद आ रहा है तो मैं बोल रहा हूं, ऐसे सैकड़ों लोग थे जिसने न सिर्फ अपनी कलम से कुछ कहा, लेकिन पूरे देश की आवाज को स्याही में डुबोकर देश के सामने फिर से रखा। आज उसके ऊपर फिल्म बन रही है या उसके ऊपर डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज बन रही है। हमारे देश ने कई युद्धों का सामना किया, और शायद भारत आज तक वो देश है जिसने कभी अपने आप आक्रमण के लिए पहल नहीं की। महाभारत जो आज तक विश्व का सबसे बड़ा युद्ध है, उसमें भी पूरी तरह अंतिम क्षण तक भगवान कृष्ण ने विष्टि की थी, समाधान की बहुत कोशिश की, भाई अगर तुम मान जाओ, ज्यादा नहीं 5 गांव दे दो तो हम लड़ना नहीं चाहते। तो यह आक्रमण जो है वो पांडवों के तरफ से नहीं था, आक्रमण के लिए उनको मजबूर किया गया था कौरवों की ओर से, और दुर्योधन के अहम ने ये करवाया था। तो उस वक्त से लेकर आज तक जो सर्जिकल स्ट्राइक हुई इस दशक में, उस तक भारत ने कभी न तो किसी की जमीन लेने की कोशिश की है, न तो किसी निर्दोष लोगों को मारने की कोशिश की है, न तो किसी और को प्रताड़ना देने की कोशिश की है। हमने सिर्फ प्रतिकार किया है। हमने कभी आक्रमण नहीं किया, हमने कभी वार नहीं किया, हमने स्वरक्षण के लिए युद्ध किए हैं। तो उस युद्ध का भी जो दौर है उसमें भी पत्रकारिता का एक बहुत बड़ा योगदान रहा। युद्ध की खबरें जब ये मीडिया जो है वो इतना फैला हुआ, इतना व्यापक नहीं था, इतना स्ट्रांग नहीं था, उस वक्त भी युद्ध की खबरें सम्यक भाषा में लोगों को पहुंचाना, सैनिकों का मोरल जो है वो डाउन ना हो, उसका नैतिक बल जो नैतिक जुस्सा है वो टूटे नहीं। अब आपको मैं देखिए कितनी बातें ये जो जिस संस्थान की वजह से हम जुड़े हैं, ये वेदांत, तो उसकी जो प्रवृत्ति है, उसका जो एक व्याप है, वो भी इतना पवित्र और इतना जो उद्देश्य है वो उन लोगों का, वो भी यह है कि यहाँ मैं बैठा हूं, मेरे पास कुछ ना तो कागज है ना कोई रेफरेंस है, तो मुझे कुछ याद आ रहा है। अब देखिए एक ही कविता हम ले लें अगर युद्ध के बारे में, ए मेरे वतन के लोगों जरा आंख में भर लो पानी, जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी। तो ये कोई एक युद्ध की बात नहीं है, जितने भी युद्ध जहां भी हुए उस सबकी ये कहानी इस गीत में कवि प्रदीप जी ने रख दी थी। तो हमने कभी ऐसे युद्ध नहीं किया कि हम इस जमीन को चाहते हैं या तो हम इस क्षेत्र में अपना दबाव बढ़ाना चाहते हैं। हमने सिर्फ प्रतिरोध किया है और बड़ी मक्कमता से किया है। फिर वो चाहे आजादी के बाद तुरंत ही 1948 में हुआ युद्ध हो, फिर वो 62 का युद्ध हो, 65 का, 71 का, या कारगिल का युद्ध, या अभी जो ये चैन से नहीं बैठते और बैठने देते वो एक्टिविटीज है। लेकिन भारत ने, जिस सरकार ने, जिस प्रशासन ने ये जुस्सा दिखाया, तो पत्रकारिता और साहित्य उसके साथ खड़े रहे। युद्ध का भी बहुत बड़ा साहित्य हमारे पास है, मतलब युद्ध की इंफॉर्मेशन भी है, और युद्ध के लिए जिसे हम शौर्य गीत बोलते हैं, डंको वाग्यो लड़वैया शूरा जाग जोरे, तो ये सब बातें भी हमारे साहित्य में शामिल है। अब आज फॉर्चुनेटली हम अगर युद्ध करना पड़े तो भी हम सक्षम हैं, और शांति की बात सबसे ज्यादा और सबसे स्पष्ट भारत ही कर रहा है। एक भारत ही ऐसा देश है जो कि रशिया से बहुत अच्छे संबंध होने के बावजूद ये बोल रहा है कि आपको युद्ध नहीं करना चाहिए। तो हमारी आवाज जो एक समय बुलंद थी, फिर थोड़ी दब गई, फिर आज बुलंद हुई है, उसमें भी पत्रकारिता और साहित्य की अहम भूमिका है, और उसको ये निभाना चाहिए। आज का भारत शायद गरीबी से कहीं ऊपर उठ गया है, उसकी जो विडंबनाएं थी, उसकी जो विपरीत परिस्थितियां थी, विपदाएं थी, वो धीरे 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 कम हो गई है। लेकिन जो चैलेंजेस जो है, जिसे हम अपनी गुजराती भाषा में पड़कार बोलते हैं, जिसको हम उसका एक बहुत अच्छा शब्द है जो जिसको हम ऐसे मानते, चुनौती है हमारे बारे में, जो हमारे पास जो भी चुनौतियां हैं, तो उसको अगर जर्नलिज्म और साहित्य एड्रेस कर ले, अटेंड कर ले, तो प्रजा और प्रशासन दोनों का बोझ कम हो सकता है। ये एआई का दौर है। आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस हमारे मोबाइल में, हमारे डिवाइस में कुछ भी भेज सकता है, कुछ भी लिख सकता है, उसके ऊपर कोई कंट्रोल नहीं है। अगर मैं कहीं पे जाकर लिखूंगा तो कोई मुझे बोलेगा कि आपको ऐसा नहीं लिखना चाहिए, कोई छापने से रोकेगा, कोई टीवी में टेलीकास्ट करने से रोकेगा। एआई के ऊपर हमारा नियंत्रण आज तक नहीं है। तो हमें पत्रकारिता और साहित्य की यह भूमिका है कि हम अपनी प्रज्ञा संपदा जो है अपने देश की, उसको हम बढ़ावा दें। हमारी जो युवा पीढ़ी है उसको हम भाषा के लिए, उसको हम पेशकश के लिए, प्रस्तुति के लिए ऐसे सज्ज करें कि कोई भी डिवाइस अगर हमें कुछ चैलेंज करे तो उसके सामने हम अपनी बात रख सकें। पत्रकारिता की जहां तक बात है तो क्रिटिसिज्म इज वेरी बिग पार्ट ऑफ जर्नलिज्म, तो उससे हम परे नहीं रह सकते। अगर कोई सरकार, अगर कोई प्रशासन, अगर कोई शासक, अगर कोई व्यक्ति कुछ ऐसा कर रहा है जिससे शायद देश का नुकसान होने की संभावना है, तो डेफिनेटली पत्रकारों को, पत्रकारिता को उसके सामने आवाज उठानी ही चाहिए। लेकिन हम अपना एजेंडा बनाकर, मुझे ये व्यक्ति पसंद नहीं है या तो मुझे ये विचारधारा पसंद नहीं है, और इसके लिए हम उनके सामने एक मोर्चा खोल दें, तो वो नुकसान भारत की जनता का, होगा, ये 140 करोड़ लोगों के भविष्य का सवाल है। और पत्रकारिता और साहित्य, ये दोनों क्षेत्र लोगों से जुड़े हुए हैं, कोई ये एक समुदाय की बात नहीं है। तो जिसे हम थर्ड वर्ल्ड नेशन बोलते हैं, भारत बहुत सालों तक तीसरे विश्व के राष्ट्र की यादियों में रहा। और आज अगर हम प्रजा को सातत्यपूर्ण रूप से डीमोरलाइज करने लगे, उसका नैतिक जुस्सा तोड़ने लगे कि ये सब योजनाएं खराब है, इससे कुछ नहीं हो सकता, अगर ये बिल आया तो उससे ये नुकसान होगा, ये नुकसान होगा, तो जनता कैसे विश्वास करेगी। तो पत्रकारिता और साहित्य की एक बहुत बड़ी भूमिका है, शासक और प्रजा के बीच एक सेतु बनने की, एक कड़ी बनने की। जहां आलोचना करनी है वहां करनी ही है, लेकिन सिर्फ आलोचना ही करके हम शायद अपनी रोटी कमा सकते हैं, लेकिन 140 लोगों के मानसिक विकास की जो जिम्मेदारी है, मैंने शुरुआत में ही कहा कि विकास और आजादी सिर्फ राजकीय, राजनैतिक या तो सिर्फ भौतिक नहीं होते। तो जो एक जिसे हम ये बोलते हैं कि मानसिक रूप से लोगों को तैयार करना है अपनी लड़ाई लड़ने के लिए, अपना जीवन जीने के लिए, उसमें साहित्य और पत्रकारिता दोनों की अहम भूमिका है। तो अगर कुछ गलत बातें, कुछ अफवाहें किसी माध्यम से आ जाती है, तो एक अच्छे माध्यम का, एक पत्रकारिता के एक अच्छे संस्थान का यह फर्ज है कि उसका वो खंडन करे और प्रजा को, जनता को, अपने पाठकों को या तो अपने दर्शकों को यह बताए कि आपके सामने जो लाया जा रहा है वो ये नहीं है, सच तो ये है। और वैसी ही भूमिका साहित्य की है कि समाज में कई ऐसी बातें बन रही है जिससे लोगों को जीने की और कुछ करने की प्रेरणा मिले। न्यूज तो न्यूज है जहां तक पत्रकारिता का सवाल है। तो अगर कोई कुछ गलत कर रहा है तो हम उससे परे नहीं कर सकते कि ये हम नहीं छापेंगे, ये हम नहीं दिखाएंगे। लेकिन उसके साथ साथ समाज में कई ऐसी बातें हो रही है जिसको अगर हम अपने माध्यम से लोगों तक पहुंचाएंगे तो और 5 लोगों को, 10 लोगों को उस क्षेत्र में आगे बढ़ने की प्रेरणा मिलेगी। और पत्रकारिता की ये भूमिका भी रहनी चाहिए कि वो अगर कुछ गलत हो रहा है वो दिखाता है, अगर कुछ समाज की गंदगी दिखाता है तो उसके साथ साथ समाज में जो हो रहा है, जो अच्छा हो रहा है, जो जिससे हम प्रेरणा ले सकते हैं, ऐसी कुछ बात हो रही है तो वो दर्शकों के, पाठकों के एक बड़े समुदाय तक पहुंचाए। कोई एक सरकार, कोई एक गवर्नमेंट की कोई एक बॉडी या तो कोई अधिकारियों का कोई एक समुदाय वो पूरे देश को विकसित नहीं कर सकता। जैसे विज्ञानियों की कोई और भूमिका है विकास में, जैसे स्पोर्ट्स की एक अलग भूमिका है, जैसे अध्यापकों की एक अलग भूमिका है, वैसे ही पत्रकारों और साहित्यकारों की एक बहुत बड़ी भूमिका देश को विकसित करने के लिए और विकसित देश को विकसित रहने देने में है। और मैं ये कहूंगा कि भारत के साहित्यकारों और पत्रकारों ने एक बड़े अरसे तक और एक हद तक इस भूमिका को, इस जिम्मेदारी को बखूबी निभाया है। अब जो चुनौती है ये माध्यम के, जिसे कम्युनिकेशन में हम माध्यम विस्फोट का समय बोलते हैं, इट इज टाइम ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन ब्लास्ट। जहां भी हम जाए हमारे पास इंफॉर्मेशन आती है, जहां भी हम जाए हमारे पास इंफॉर्मेशन आती है। हर व्यक्ति पत्रकार है, जिसके पास एक मोबाइल है वो फोटो खींच सकता है और कुछ भी लिख सकता है। नो वेरिफिकेशन, नो ऑथेंटिफिकेशन। तो इस समय में, इस नाजुक दौर में देश के लिए, देश को दुश्मनों से बचाने के लिए और देश की नई पीढ़ी को अपने आप में एक जगह देने के लिए पत्रकारिता और साहित्य की एक बहुत बड़ी भूमिका है। और मैं ये मानता हूं कि जिस माध्यम से हमने ये संवाद किया, ये भी उसी भूमिका का एक पहलू है, एक माध्यम है। तो इस बात को अगर हम पूर्ण करने जाए तो बहुत बड़ा समय, बहुत ज्यादा समय में लगेगा। तो इस बात को अधूरा छोड़ते हुए मैं फिर कभी इस प्लेटफॉर्म पर, फिर कभी ऐसे कोई संवाद में आपसे मिलने की आशा रखते हुए अपनी बात को यहाँ पर पूर्ण विराम नहीं लेकिन अल्प विराम देता हूँ। थैंक यू वेरी मच।
Thank you very much, Shri Jwalant Bhai Chhaya, for your invaluable talk, very keen observations and interesting deliberations in the domain of role of journalism and literature in shaping of or in making of a Viksit Bharat. Team Vedant is really grateful to you for your invaluable time, support and a very interesting talk. Thank you very much. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. To justify this vote of thanks journey, journey is very important, and we are together traveling towards Viksit Bharat and witnessing this India's biggest virtual conference for 5 days. Vedant Knowledge Systems Private Limited and all stakeholders of it are feeling honored to host you all in India's biggest virtual conference addressing Sustainable Development Goals 2030 and Viksit Bharat at 2047. It is indeed pleasure to have graceful presence of esteemed guests, esteemed speakers, experts, session chairs and dear participants. We would like to thank one and all participated in this event directly, indirectly for being with us in this beautiful event. We would like to thank our mentors, advisors, esteemed experts, all the dear participants, knowledge partner institutions, leaders of our nation and leaders from education sector, directors of Vedant Knowledge Systems and all the stakeholders of this event for your time, contributions and all love. Thank you all. Thank you for being with us in this journey. Thank you.